This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Pop Experience. We are back in your ear holes again. Of course, that would be another edition of the wonderful and amazing Telly and Tea with me, Miranda Berthold, and my amazing and wonderful co-host from the other part of the pond, because we're now both on the same side of the pond. Anyway, my other UK half, Mr. Ben Locke. Ben, how are you doing?
I am very well, Miranda. I feel like you're building me up though, saying I'm amazing and wonderful. I'm going to have to deliver now.
Well, you can. You can. It'd be great. So this is episode 5, technically, if you go back with our preview and then number 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So today we're going to give you episode 5, and we bring to you what we're going to call Mischievous.
Yes. Ooh, I'm stroking my beard. It's like, ooh, mischievous.
Yes. So as always, we are Telly and Tea, and we are here to talk about some Telly and some tea, both from a Brit and American's perspective together, both having a love of each other's television shows. And that's what birthed this wonderful podcast. And if you're still here listening with us, thank you for still being here. And we promise we're trying to get better at this once a month thing. But
I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing all right. It's not been our fault. Skype in the EU has had some technical difficulties. So, yeah, there's that. But overall, Ben, how have you been doing in this lovely, kind of not the C word vibe?
Yeah, I mean, we're like, everything's pretty much relaxed here now, but the government and people are still encouraging you to wear masks in public when you're indoors, go to the shops or whatever, or traveling on public transport. So, but yeah, it's all right. Like we're just coming out of our third kind of lockdown, and this one's been a lot tougher than the first two. And I don't know, I think it might be because it's like affecting like kids and the 40 and below age range now. So it's had more of a knock-on effect for us.
Yeah.
And the company I work for are frankly just not throwing as much money behind it as they did the first time, because they, as most companies did, way overspent, and now they've got to rein that money back in.
Yeah. They're like, we are all out of money. Please come to work. Please buy things. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. Well, it's a supply chain thing as well, obviously. So we've not been too bad in our shop, but getting the stuff to the shop in the first place, that's where the issue's been.
Because we have one of the shops here locally. It's a grocery store I use as well. And some parts of the shelves have been bleak. Not all of them, but it's only like certain sections. And we're being told it's part of like the warehousing issue. So we'll see. So far, none of the other most of the other stores that we have are German, big box things that are German or local Slovak based. We haven't really run into that problem here, but
like, as we're recording this tonight on the 5th, aren't we, tonight of August? Mm-hmm. I'm planning like my birthday night out for the weekend after, and that's gonna be like the first time I've been properly out in like 17, 18 months.
It sounds strange to say that, doesn't it?
I've forgotten what to do.
Yeah, that's like the first time we were allowed out, which we've all been allowed out for a while now. But Ben and I, for those of you that haven't been keeping up, that are in the U.S. So obviously I am American, but I live in the EU and Slovakia, and obviously Ben is in the U.K. And rules over here for us have been quite a bit stricter. And so like when everybody in America was allowed out, we were not. So, or if we were allowed out, there were a lot of like,
please stay in.
Right? We were just allowed to start eating indoors in restaurants again in April. I think probably about the same time you were.
So like I say, it's weird. Everything's like fully relaxed, but it's like everybody's taking baby steps and having to be,
Yeah.
the government is saying having to be cautious, still be cautious about things, which I do get. I do understand that. But...
I do as well. We actually were able to cross a border without any issues because that was part of the problem is like border crossing was just terrible. We did cross the border and go into Hungary. We only went in like an hour and some change because technically where I live, I'm only like 20 minutes-ish from the border. So we went into this little town that has like several American things. And we crossed in just fine. We crossed out. Nobody, like there's people there. And I think they're just random spot checking. So like a family of 3 coming across in a car, like, no, they're like, okay, whatever, keep on going. We don't care. But like, I'm sure if you had like a car crammed full of people or like a big van or cargo, they might stop, but they didn't stop us. So, and even if they had, we have all of the sounds bad. I mean,
it sounds like I'm moaning and complaining. Then I've got a friend who lives in Australia, and she's gone into her 6th lockdown.
Yeah, they have had it horrible, like beyond what all of us have had.
But that is because if you don't know anything about like Australia and New Zealand, like they are so uber strict on any kind of disease entering the country that it is ridiculous. But it's like it's their way of life, and it's normal for them.
It is it seems very extreme to us, and it does seem ridiculous. I do also watch a few television shows that are actually from Australia and New Zealand, and they kind of talk about it and touch on it in those, like most of our TV shows touch on real life things as well. And you're right, though, it's a way of life, and they've been able to keep things like even like rabies and stuff like that almost at bay. Like because of their rules. So like we look at it and say strict, but at the same time, like they've been able to like really keep stuff in check.
Well, I remember I've got a story, so it's a little gross. So just to spoiler warning, I went to Australia about 20 years ago, right?
Oh.
And I went in a pair. I made the flight over in a pair of flip flops. Okay. Unbeknownst to me, I had stepped into some dog feces, but it was buried in the flip flop. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know about it.
Know anymore. It was crunched up in there, dry, done.
Exactly, dry, done. So get off the flight, get into customs and everything. They make you. They look at your feet, and I'm not kidding. We had to stay in border control for 2 hours while they, fumigated my flip flops. And my sister also had some on her shoes or something on her shoes. So it's like you're not like this into your country.
Wow.
Honestly, it's so strict. But like you say, it's their way of life. They know it's no different. You know what I mean? That's what they're used to, and they don't want disease in their country, which I'm totally on board with.
But you're right. Like to us, it's extreme, but I guess, and even to some people that live there, they think it's extreme as well. But they've been able to keep things out of the country.
So that's why they're in a 6th lockdown, because it only takes like 1 or 2 cases for the whole country to go.
Yeah, just
so for them to grind it to a halt.
That is crazy.
So basically, like, we moan about lockdowns and things in America and the US. It's nothing compared to some places.
That's true. That's very true. It's just so crazy. Well, even though we have this weird, I'm always afraid to say the word, the word of the virus, because it seems like people in the podcasting world and in like TikTok and anywhere really, when you say it, it's like your stuff gets pushed to the bottom. So like I guess when Pandora's box, that's what it is. Pandora opened her box. When she decides to close it, that'd be great.
That sounds a little wrong.
Yeah. So apparently some things are obviously very much getting back to normal because the Olympics that were supposed to take place in 2020 are taking place currently at this very moment. They are almost complete. They're taking place at this very moment in Tokyo. And there's been a lot of talk around these. I won't go into all the stuff, but I'm sure if you are alive on this planet right now and over a certain age, you've heard about just all the different things going along with this set of Olympics, which is crazy in itself. That has nothing to do with Pandora's box. But a lot. But I know you're actually following and watching them. I am only casually following them because I'm interested in the standings. And then I follow the president of Slovakia, and she has personally congratulated anytime they have medaled, which has only been 3 times. So I'm like,
I realize I'm a total sports nerd, and I will literally watch any sport.
You are my husband.
Even dressage, even the horse dancing. I'm all in on that.
I think we talked about this, you and I, when Pandora's box officially happened, and he was so bored. He was watching handball and dodgeball.
There was that. I was around my mum's earlier on, and the program had that on handball, beach volleyball, regular volleyball. It's
and then the EU's version of what handball is, and then yes. So he will too also watch pretty much any sport there is out there. I do enjoy watching certain sports that are usually only take place during the Olympics. I used to really love winter games when we have figure skating. I really like gymnastics because the talent and the power that goes into them, I don't understand it. I'm the clumsiest person in the world. Yeah. So maybe that's why I find them so entertaining.
I was on about this. I was on about this to my mum earlier on. I said, because I have dyspraxia, which means my coordination is all over the place, basically. And I said, it's those sports. The sports I really have enjoyed watching these Olympics are the things with skills, the things I know I can't do.
Same. I know I don't have that coordination.
Don't get me wrong, and I mean this with no disrespect. I'm a big lad, so I'm never gonna do this, by the way. But I could run around the track and run fast. I could do that, but I know I can't do the skateboarding tricks or the, like you say, the gymnastics or the or the BMX skills. I could never do any of that, and I'm in awe of that kind of stuff because I'm like, there is no way that could happen.
It's totally I don't know. I just find it very interesting. And some of these people, some of these sports, I'm like, wow, what made you shot put, for example? Yeah. What made you decide to try that one day, and what made you so invested in it? And I'm not making fun of them. I truly am asking these questions. I'm interested in what you're doing because I don't understand it. How did you pick it?
Yeah. Well, like you say, you've been watching casually, but I've pretty much, I would say a good 95% of our medal winners when they've been interviewed, and not just the medal winners, but most of the athletes, the one emotion there, or the one thing they're bringing through all their interviews is gratitude. They're just grateful to be there. With everything that's happened, they're just happy and grateful to be there. They've said there's some of them just winning a medal. It doesn't matter what the color is. If it's gold, great, but bronze and silver is fantastic as well. And it's been such a refreshing attitude.
Oh, and it's been really refreshing to also see not just that, but just from all of the countries, the support for each other and their beliefs and people's mental there's a lot of mental preparation that goes into any of these sports, and they're all so supportive of each other. It's very
Well, I said I don't because I don't know if you watched of it, but obviously there's no crowds allowed. Mm-hmm. So the crowd are being made up of people from those sports that they're watching
each other.
So obviously you've got people from their countries, but they're watching other the other people, and they're getting behind everybody. They're not just getting behind their own country. It's been. There's a lot of other problems and issues, like you say, the fact that nobody's allowed in, the whole committee almost getting fired beforehand and all that. But the actual events have been it's been great to watch. It's been an absolutely fantastic watch, and it's justified me staying up at 1-2 o'clock in the morning watching I'm just watching some swimming or some handball.
Right. So I know you were super interested. You've always been super interested in the Olympics, and it's been kind of hard for you to watch this year, because of weirdness, which I did not know anything about this until you told me. I've learned several new things about the Olympics this year, is why we decided to kind of briefly talk about them. But I learned several new things, and I thought it would be really interesting for you to share with everybody else. Like, you had trouble watching them because where most people, like, okay, time zones, we get that, but that's not why. It's something to do with some sort of deal. So could you explain that a little?
I'll try my best. So I think it's kind of a first world issue. So, like, the BBC have spoiled us over the years. Like, obviously, we hosted the games in 2012, so they were the host broadcaster. But, 2004, 2008, 2016, they were showing absolutely everything. So, you'd get like 3,500 hours of sport at your fingertips on whatever, on every channel and the red button and everything online. What, for some reason, and it's obviously money. I know I'm not that thing,
right?
But the IOC got into a deal with Disney Plus, Discovery Plus, which is a streaming service, and they own a channel over here called Eurosport, so like a satellite cable channel. So all the events have been on that. So what the BBC have had to do, because it's one of these protected events that have to be on free-to-air in some capacity on free-to-air TV. They've had to pay through the nose to basically only get the rights to show 2 sports at any one time. So basically on one main channel and one, red button, however you phrase it, online channel. That's all that they're allowed. So when you've gone from like 3,500 hours to 350, like I say, it's a proper first world problem. But when you've been used to something for nearly 20 years, and you haven't, what do you mean I can't watch? What do you mean I can't watch water polo? What? But it's that thing of, I understand why they've done it, to make the money, but you want to get to the maximum amount of viewers, and it's not. A streaming service like that's not going to happen. Like, even if you went on Netflix, they wouldn't make that money.
It just seems odd. It does seem odd when you were texting me about it, and I was like, "What? I don't entirely understand this."
Yeah, it's basically like, because I know it's on NBC in America, isn't it?
NBC. They do this with NBC a lot. Yeah.
So it's basically it would basically be like going from NBC to, like, some really, like, TNT or Turner or something like that.
Yeah, which we have.
And probably even worse than that, because at least TNT's on a cable. It's accessible to people.
They actually did that involving the NBA. I believe TNT is the home of the NBA now, pretty much. Where you still get it on CBS and ABC. So yes, it's very, very similar to the whole NBA going to TNT thing.
I don't know if you know, but am I right in saying that only the actual the best of 7 championship, that's the only thing that's on network TV in America? Everything's on TNT, like you say. But like.
No, I think they do have some just, but it's only on specific channels. But now college ball, you will find predominantly on CBS, but it could also be on ABC. Depends on who's playing. But that's big for us. That's really big. Yeah. College basketball.
But but like I say, it's not been a major issue. I thought it was going to be a major issue, but it's not turned out that way, because like. Now, obviously, because they haven't got as much time to show things, they're spending the time. They're spending the time on the sport. There's not as much waffling with punditry. You know what I mean? It's like the pundit comes in, explains what's going on for people who don't watch the sports every. You can only see these sports every 4 years.
Right.
And then they're straight into it. There's not been any Let's talk about somebody's shoes. There's not been any of that.
Just kind of nice, because that does tend to happen. But you can find out all that on TikTok. I learned you can learn all about the clothing and the shoes and stuff on TikTok if you really want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Really want to know. Right. One of the cool things that I learned, and we were trying to find the numbers for Great Britain, and I found them while we've been talking here. So one of the things that I came to you that I was like just baffled by, I did not know this. TikTok taught me. So apparently the majority of the countries that participate in the Olympics, when the person that goes, of course, the person that goes, they are already hired. They have a job. They're making money doing this. They get health benefits and many, many other things, sponsorships from Nike, blah, blah, blah. They're making money going, period. But apparently there is a huge list of countries that country and that country's Olympic committee get together and say, if you bring home gold, you get this as a paycheck, flat out.
Yeah.
So, for example, in the United States, if you bring home gold, you will be receiving a check of $37,500. Silver is $22,500 and bronze is $15,000. Now, these are taxed at the higher tax bracket. If you are aware of what I'm talking about, they're higher taxed at the higher tax bracket. So I tell my husband this because I'm super interested and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And he actually took it a step further and said he saw the same article or one very similar that I was referred to. And he said he found out that this stems from a long time ago when the metals, especially the gold ones, for example, or even silver and bronze, those are, considered currency, and are worth a lot of money, right? So you would have to pay a tax on said metal when you brought it home. So the people were like, wait, I don't have money to pay the tax on this. Some of these people were like, I'm barely scraping by. So like it actually turned out it started because of that. Now it's actually inflated into a much higher rate. And another fun fact about this year's Olympics, the gold medals are not gold medals. They are simply gold plated this year.
They're gold plated. I don't know if you knew, but they're actually made of like different like electronic boards and things like that. Like basically scrap. Yeah.
And then they're plated. So they are real gold, but not all the way through it. Like, yeah. So if you're interested in this, CNBC did an article where you can check out some of the different countries. All figures on this article, because it is done by CNBC, are converted into US dollars and then rounded to the nearest 100,000th and 10,000 where appropriate. So it's not off, but it's to make sure that you understand in USD, because if you gave like, oh, they make this many Hungarian florins or this many euros, you would not, as an American, know what they were talking about. So just to give you an idea, though, Hungary's gold medal winner brings home an additional $168,000. Italy, $213,000. Australia is down at only making $15,000 for gold. Singapore, though, if you're from Singapore and you get gold, $737,000 US dollars.
They know they ain't making that many. They're gonna have to pay that out too many times.
Right. Well, it is. I'm sure in every country it's taxed at like the high tax bracket, but it is crazy. So Ben and I briefly discussed this before we started recording because I wanted to ask him, like, hey, we always go through like reminder of what we're talking about, kind of back and forth. I'm sure most people know how podcasts are planned. So apparently you actually said you thought it depended on the sport for you guys. And
yes.
Jerry thought it did as well for the U.S. In the U.S., it does not, because you're already paid there for your sport. So what I Googled here, what I finally found out, and this is from Forbes, not every country offers a prize at the podium for performance. So as you were stating to me when we first talked, a lot of your guys have a set like, oh, you're there for kayak and you did great. Congratulations, here's your money. So Great Britain, New Zealand, Norway, and Sweden are examples of people that do not actually provide any extra pay for medals, and neither do some of the smaller delegations like Tonga, Virgin Islands, obviously people that probably couldn't afford it as much. So yes, apparently you guys don't give an additional fee, but that means somewhere the compensation is worth it.
I can believe that, but you've got to also think like these people who get the gold medal, they're going to get so much money from like sponsorship and corporate deals, and
they're going to be like,
and TV shows. Their profile is going to be like through the roof, basically.
we were even talking about this. Like, I don't know what the other countries were given. But I guess because I liked the video saying, did you know that in America, if you bring home a gold medal, blah, blah, blah. So then, like, I kept getting all these Olympic TikTok videos. And one of them was a Olympic female from the U.S. She's already back home. I believe she did not medal but congratulations, you made it to the Olympics. You are awesome, because I will never be in the Olympics. And she was showing off the collection of clothing that each female, if you go to represent the U.S., here's the clothes and all the items that you are given. And as I was telling you, and you actually like took it a step further and explained some more to me. As I was telling you, like all of it was name brand. They got like 4 brand new pair of shoes.
Oh yeah.
Like there's Ralph Lauren in there. They got bags, hats, multiple pairs of shoes that are over. Like I looked up one of the pairs that she were given. They are a special design. You can't even get this design. Only the U.S. Olympic team was given this design. But like the base of her shoe is like $130 shoe in the US. So they were given some really nice stuff. And then you were telling me that some of the other countries, especially like Italy, because they have big name designers from their country, that it can get quite crazy on the swag that they're basically giving. And they're also told to wear it. Like you're supposed to wear it throughout this time too.
You can imagine, like I say, like you said, Italy and France, with their designers, like you say, with America, your Ralph Lauren's, or even somebody like Tommy Hilfiger, if they wanted to go and draw it, you'd make so much money that way.
Oh,
I mean, like in 2012, I remember, Stella McCartney, Paul McCartney's daughter, she's a fashion designer. And she did all the opening ceremony clothing for Team GB, and it's just worth so much money. Like you say, like you keep it and it just raises your profile up. And I tell you what, I don't even think about the money.
Yeah, I don't either, but I did because I was super curious. So if you're interested in it, there's tons of very reputable sites. We even found one for UK that was done by the Independent. It's just it wasn't giving any numbers, and we wanted numbers because we were interested in this.
We like to know how much people make. Damn it.
Well, I'm curious because I thought that was completely like I just assumed, and it reads deeper into some of these articles by Forbes and Independent and CNBC where they talk about this is on top of like the grants and the sponsorships and their normal everyday paycheck and the fact that they're usually provided health insurance from their company, like they are an employee. So these countries that pay podium fees, it is above and beyond what. It's crazy. It's crazy, and I did not know that was a thing.
I'm looking now at the 2012. So, like I say, the 2012 clothing opening ceremony. So, like I say, Ralph Lauren for the US, Stella McCartney for Great Britain, Armani for Italy. I mean, these are big designers. These aren't your little companies. Like even Salvatore Ferragamo for San Marino. I mean, that getting somebody like that to do your outfit.
That's crazy.
Sidal Amali for Jamaica. Obviously, like her dad.
Their clothing alone is worth several $1,000s.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane.
Well, I guess we'll see how this plays out. I know you're super interested and you will continue to watch it. So next time we record, it should be completed and tidied up, and so you can give us.
It'll be all done.
Yeah.
Like, we're well into the second week now as we are recording.
So you can give us a breakdown of how it all ended up playing out and what you thought, if you enjoyed it. Currently, Great Britain is in the top 10.
We are 6th on the medal table. We are 6th.
You're 6th on the medal table, but technically you're rank 4 by total. There's a difference. So I don't know how that works.
It's always that thing of like, obviously it's not just a foreign games, it's a foreign games like, the other side of the world. So you have to take that into account. Yeah. So your Australians, your Japan, your Chinas should be above you, frankly, because they are from that side of the world.
Yeah, so there's like a total And there's a rank by total, and then there's a rank. So currently, China is ranked number 1, but their rank by total is actually number 2. United States is ranked number 2, but their actual rank by total is 1. And then, of course, you guys are 6, but are technically rank by total 4.
So the actual the ranking the IOC use goes by the gold medals total.
Yes.
So China are on like 34, I think, 34 or 35.
Yeah, 34
and the USA,
gold.
And the US are about 5 or 6 behind that. So that's why China are above them, even though the US have got like 17 more medals in total.
Yeah, we have 91 total current medals, but 29 of them are gold, 35 silver, and 27 bronze. You guys are currently rocking it pretty good at 51 current totals with 16 gold, 18 silver, and 17 bronze.
We like to share things round. You see, that's what it is. We don't just specialize in one sport anymore. We like to share the goods round.
Well, I mean, everybody is doing better than my also beloved, because I live here and I really care about this country now, Slovakia. At number 41, with an actual total by rank of 45, we currently have 3 medals, which we have 2 silver and 1 gold. And actually, one of those silvers was won by a guy that is Slovak because he married a Slovak. But congratulations, Roy Sabatini. It still counts. You are
it all counts.
He's a dual citizen, therefore it counts. So he actually, congratulations, Roy Sabatini, for being a non-Slovak. Winning.
Well done, Roy, for being good at golf and marrying a Slovak.
Exactly. Congratulations. This tea's for you, sir.
Speaking of tea.
Yes, it's been steeping long enough, and we're gonna cheers to Mr. Roy Sabatini. We don't normally cheers a person, but we'll cheers him because I was highly impressed by his story.
He deserves it.
He deserves it. So this tea's for you, sir. And tonight I am sad to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to give you a repeat. Or is it a variant?
Or is it, yes. I was going to go for rerun, but yes, variant, yes.
Or is it a variant? Why would it be a variant? I don't know. But let me tell you first, we are having our variant tea here. We're going back to my favorite, Earl Grey. And
I'll be honest, it's my favorite as well. So I was more than happy.
Okay, because it was not your favorite before, right?
No. You got me back into it, but so good, so good.
Happy. It is, yes, it is my favorite. So, and Ben and I obviously had plenty in our cupboards to continue. And we always like to give you a little bit of information about the tea. And at first I was like, well, how am I going to tell them it's a variant and then just like not give them any new facts? But I learned something new. So first, Ben, how did you decide to take your variant tea this evening?
I decided to take it the usual way that I do. So, I don't have a teapot, so straight for hot water straight out the kettle and sugar in the tea bag already in, and went from there. Put the milk, take the tea bag out, put the milk in put the milk in after, and then stir. Very basic, very simple. I'm a very basic, simple kind of guy, Miranda. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, I'm pretty basic with mine too. I've made 2 cups this evening, and I will explain why the second cup in just a moment. First cup is the way that I normally always take it. It is just steeped bag of Earl Grey. I forget the brand. It's from here locally. Obviously, the tea's not local, but it's just from a local shop. It is just steeped. I get my water from my Nespresso machine.
Oh, yeah.
It works. It works really well. I don't have a kettle right now, so I just get the hot water from the Nespresso. I add a little bit of local honey, and that's how I prefer to take it. Just warm with honey. It's very amazing.
I have never had tea with honey before.
I know. You told me that. You were like, I've never had tea with honey, and I just assumed everyone had tea with honey. So I'd love for you to try it. I went to a cafe the other day where they brought me my pot of tea, and they gave me sugar, and I was like, what is this?
What are you doing with this?
What? You can take all of this back. I don't want this. So we're back to the Earl Grey, and I learned something. I learned a couple of things, really, but I won't go too deep because we've already talked about it. And I wanted to get into the reason for the second cup as well. So Earl Grey is famous worldwide, this says, for its Englishness. Of course, It has very distinctive citrus flavors. And it is favored as an afternoon tea, and it is much lighter than they're calling it a sister to the English breakfast tea. I will give them that. English breakfast tea is a little more bodied and dense. But Earl Grey was a real person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know this. Probably I don't, so you can help me fill in the blanks here. But Charles Grey was the second Earl Grey, and he held the post of Prime Minister in the United Kingdom between 1830 and 1834. And there's a couple of different versions of how Earl Grey tea came to be associated with his name, but the main story suggests that it was him who was actually asked by Richard Twining, which if you are a tea lover at all, like the two of us are, you're very familiar with the Twining name.
Yeah,
yeah. I will actually state that Twining is probably one of the best worldwide known teas. You can buy it in pretty much any country, almost. Fabulous tea company. But apparently, the main story is that Prime Minister Grey, or Earl Grey here, was asked by Richard Twining in 1831 to come up with a new blend of tea, which he instantly liked and branded it with his own name. Of course, there's another not as well liked version, stipulates the name association happened much earlier when he was a grateful Chinese father had gifted the blend to him after one of the Earl's staff rescued his son from drowning in 1803. I think either story is pretty fantastic.
I like the sound of that. Yeah, that is a good story.
Right. So Earl Grey is named after a real gentleman, and it was either named after him because Richard Twining really liked him and wanted to make a tea, or someone was very thankful for his son being rescued and decided to name a tea after him. Either way, I think that's a pretty good way to have a tea named after you.
Well, I was going to say, if you can have something named after you, that's as good a reason as any. Right? That's a pretty damn good reason.
I mean, obviously, Richard Twining couldn't come ask me if I would want my own tea, but his ancestors could, and that would be pretty awesome. I mean,
Dear Mr. Twining.
Yes. I could go sit at his grave and talk to him and hope that his ghostly apparition tells his ancestors to name a tea after me. I don't even know what I would want that tea to be called, because Earl Grey is pretty fantastic.
I was going to say, to be fair, they kind of knocked it out the park with that name.
Yeah, they really did. So I highly encourage you, if you did not take our advice last time and try the Earl Grey, I would highly recommend it. You can, of course, try it either way. Ben's way, my way, neither one is wrong.
Yeah, it's all good, so good.
Yes. Again, we will reiterate, unless you were the crazy lady on TikTok trying to tell people how to make English tea, you don't know what you're talking about. Please go sit down. She was wrong.
Yeah, she was a Fruit Loop.
Oh God, I thought I about had a heart attack on that one. And then I heard her Southern accent, which I don't know if it was real or fake, and that made me even more angry.
You're like, she is not one of my people.
Right. I don't claim you, honey.
Like, no. It's all wrong.
No, please, for God's sake, let this be an SNL skit, because this is not okay.
Yeah, where's A.D. Bryant when you need her?
Right? So, I have our tea, my variant tea, and tonight I decided to go out on a limb and make it a second way, because you and I were very curious about a one Mr. Tom Hiddleston.
Lady's favorite Tom Hiddleston.
He is. I'll give him that. He's quite dashing, man. That is.
He's quite. I'm quite secure in my sexuality, and even I have to admit he's quite easy looking on the eye. You know, good looking boy.
He's just charming. He's like I don't like long hair, but whether he's short haired, long hair, he's just very charismatic and charming, and you want to be his friend, basically. So we were interested with our mischievousness here. What tea would Tom Hiddleston drink if he came on an episode of Telly and Tea? And it just so happens that the interwebs provided. They provided, because apparently he confirmed on a 2018 filming of Jimmy Kimmel Live that his favorite cup of tea is Earl Grey. And in one explanation, he even goes on to explain how he takes said cup of tea, which is like with a dash of milk, apparently.
Yes.
Yes. So I have cup number 2 here. I have never had milk in my tea. I know it is very big for you guys. I know that's very common. So this evening, I have one with a dash.
Miranda is growing.
I am growing. I am taking my Tom Hiddleston drink. If you don't hear anything in the next 10 seconds, I have died.
Okay, I'll let you take a sip, Glenn.
Okay. I'm psyching myself up here. I don't know that. Okay.
Dead air is not the greatest for the podcast, but I'm going to be quiet for this moment.
Okay. Okay. So it cuts on the bitter. It cuts back the bitter that you sometimes get with these darker teas.
Yes.
Because you do. And it adds a kind of like a creamy kick when it hits the back of your throat. Especially, yeah. Okay, I could do that. That is not as bad. In your brain, as an American, and especially as a Southern American, when you say put milk in tea, it's all kinds of like, oh, bless your heart. Like, but I'll have to admit, this warm tea with a splash, and it's a splash, like from.
You don't drown.
Like a boop.
Yeah, you don't drown it in there.
It's not a coffee where you want it like, yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to drown it in there. You just put enough in. Just take the edge off.
Yeah. So I dig this. Okay, I could do that. Yeah. So Earl Grey is Tom Hiddleston's favorite tea. It was confirmed.
I feel like you should get a stamp for you say this tea is Miranda approved.
Miranda approved? And like Tom Hiddleston's tea should be Miranda approved tea? Oh, we should contact the ghost of Richard Twinings and have could you rename this Tom Hiddleston special blend? Like, could you make a new Earl Grey? And it be the Hiddleston blend, and it can have a stamp on it that says Telly and Tea podcast approved.
I mean, there's a sponsorship deal right there. Surely.
I mean, surely somebody wants our sticker on their box to say approved.
So far tonight, we have made sponsorship deals for all the Olympians and for Tom Hiddleston. I mean, come on, we're on a roll here.
We don't even get paid for this. We're good.
Well,
we should.
Remember, everybody, we are doing this out the goodness of our hearts.
Exactly. So clearly, I think most of you would know that there's only one reason, well, a lot of reasons why we talk about Tom Hiddleston. Again, very charismatic, very, great to listen to. So we are actually going to be discussing season 1 of Loki. And we do have some friends that have gone in depth each episode if you want to go back and check that out. We also have a new thing called Stream Lounge, and I don't think any of our Place to Be Nation people have been over there on Stream Lounge, but I did see some of the other good folks over at Stream Lounge have been streaming them. So if you want to check those out as well, you can kind of see all of the different opinions when it comes, because obviously that's why Ben and I do this, even though our friends have already discussed it, is because we do have varying opinions.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you got to think we're like, I think we said it before. We're just going to give you like an overview and our thoughts. You know, there's like Miranda says, Pop Goes to the Couches out there. They go episode. You've got your likes of Sean, Tim, and Scott Shiflett, who just go into everything properly in depth and all the theories and all the fan theories and all that kind of thing. And like I keep saying, I only watch the TV shows or and the movies. I don't read any of the comics, so I go in blind largely.
I'm kind of going in semi-blind. And the reason I say semi-blind is like if I had one hand over one eye, because I am a comic book reader, but I have not read a lot of current. I haven't read in a couple of years now. Honestly, before Pandora's Box happened, I had already gotten way behind on my pull list. So I had canceled a lot of things on my pull list, and then that kind of solidified that I did not have a pull list anymore. So you feel like you're going in blind. So Ben is like the monkey that's like the see no evil, and he's covering both. But I'm like, I'm willing to see some evil over here. So like, I only got one hand covering. So we have some, I think, different varying opinions on Loki. So season 1 of Loki premiered on June 9th on Disney Plus, and concluded with its final episode of season 1. With that's not a spoiler, but it concluded with season 1's episodes wrapping up on July 14th. So just a couple of weeks ago, and we are getting a season 2. So
yes.
Which was already known by most people prior to getting to that. So, yeah, we will be giving spoilers. I'll go ahead and say that. So if you have not watched or have not completed it yet, we have another television show that we're going to talk about in this episode as well. So if you're not prepared to hear Loki spoilers, I would say go ahead and maybe pause and come back to us once you're done. Yeah. Or skip ahead and listen to the other things that we're going to talk about.
Or even just go and watch the show. Thanks for listening. We'll come back to us when you're finished.
Yeah, soon, very soon.
We'll still be here.
We'll still be here. Yeah, we will probably still be here talking in this episode.
Well, I don't think we'll go on that long. We're not. I know.
They
we
know
like
us.
to chat.
I know we
like to chat. I was going to say, I know we like a chat, but we're not that bad.
Yeah, we're not that bad yet. So this is an amazing cast, 6 episodes. Yes. And we have the basic plot. We all know that the show picks up immediately after he seizes the Tesseract as the final act, or, as a result of the final actions of my brain just went dead. Our previous movie, the events in Endgame. There we go.
Yeah, I'll say it's after Endgame, isn't it?
I was like, blah, 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 blah. So it's a series that takes place after the events of Endgame. So it immediately picks up where we see him being carted off, and he's stolen the Tesseract, and he gets out of there when shit goes down. But what we don't know when we're watching the movie is what happens to Loki. Like, he kind of just disappears. Boop. And what actually happens is he's arrested by the Time Variance Authority for creating a branched timeline, and is taken to their headquarters. So the Time Variance Authority's headquarters. What did you think about this whole beginning in this episode 1, which episode 1 is essentially just them introducing the Time Variance Authority, showing you what's going on, the different timelines, and someone, obviously you can tell very straight off that they're being messed with. And we're introduced very quickly to our judge at the TVA and one of our agents, Mobius.
Mobius is amazing, by the way. I really liked it because, like you say, with the whole see no evil thing. So I'd never heard of the Time Variance Authority. I was like, what's this? But it did such a good job of explaining things through, and and like you say, you knew something else was going to go down here. It wasn't just a case of. It wasn't going to be like a prison break thing, was it? It was you knew there was going to be something else that was going to happen. You weren't sure what, but it's not just going to be we're going to send, like I say, we're going to send him carted off somewhere. It's going to be like the Shawshank Redemption. It was going to be nothing like that.
I did like when they show you the look of the Time Variance is very interesting. It's very different. It's kind of got like a 50s, 60s vibe going on. Very different. I kind of like when shows do that. We've had several shows do that where you're like, what time period exactly is this?
It was a very like you say, like a 1960s, early 70s vibe going on. And I can't remember exactly the scene, but when they went through the reception, and I can't remember, it was somebody said something like, what are you on about? We don't do that here. And it's like they're obviously that self-contained in that building and then that environment that they don't know anything else.
Yeah. And from what I remembered from the comics, because that was the other thing, is I was also having a hard time remembering certain things. I was like, no, this is more. This is something more. Like, and I'm sure everyone, even if you didn't read the comics, because it's Marvel, there's something more. So that's kind of what I really enjoyed about it, is you couldn't exactly tell. But you meet Judge Renslayer, and she sentences him to be pruned, which basically means, well, we think at this point, pruned means to be killed off, to die. But our lovely Mobius, Agent Mobius M. Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, comes in and intervenes and says, no, I'm going to take him with me to the Time Theater for interrogation. And this whole scene when they're in the Time Theater was just, there were parts that were heartbreaking. Like, yeah.
It was that thing as well when you were watching it. It's like, it's just obviously it's the MCU, it's big money, we know that, but it's like, for a TV show, you've got Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. Like, this doesn't happen usually.
Oh no, not at all.
And you've got these two great actors. I mean, Owen Wilson as well, playing completely against type, which I loved. He's usually that pot smoking slacker, and he's not in this at all. He's this uptight suit guy, and he's got his own brain and he can think for himself. But at the very beginning, he's very much the TVA. That's the only thing I know, and that's the only thing I go by.
And I loved his, like, very quickly you learn he has a thing for jet skis.
Yes.
And it kind of gets you thinking already, like, why would this guy know about jet skis or care about jet skis if he's just an agent at the TVA? So during this interrogation, he's basically trying to get Loki to not be so selfish, not be all about himself, and to, take responsibility and, like, be helpful. Basically, he shows him his intended future in the sacred timeline, which includes his role in the death of his mother, his adopted mother. Loki is not really believing this. He's kind of like, you're lying to me, whatever, nice try. Why don't you just go get the Avengers and have them fix this? Like, he kind of makes a joke about, they always fix it. Where you can tell he's jealous, maybe?
Only slightly.
Oh, only slightly. And that's when he leaves the room, which we've already met this other character, but also a very good character, Hunter B-15.
Yes.
Which clearly they are named for their job. She is a hunter, and she's B-15.
Yeah, she was the 15th off the rank.
Yep, but she's somewhat in charge. You can tell, somewhat in charge. I am not going to try to say this amazing woman's name because I'm going to jack it up. It's Wumi Masaki? Yeah. Anyway, she's a fantastic actress. I've never seen her before.
I'd go in Wumi Masaki. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Wumi Masaki. So she's fantastic. She is a high-ranking soldier in the TVA at this point in the game. And she does not trust Loki. She kind of refers to him almost in third person, just like, I don't trust Loki. Like he's a thing, basically. He does manage to escape and kind of retrieves his confiscated Tesseract, because obviously they took that away from him.
Yeah, because they don't actually really know what that is, do they?
No, they don't.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking of. That's what the receptionist. If you remember, he's playing with it almost like a Rubik's cube, isn't he?
Yeah, it's things like that don't hold the same value for the one kid. He opens his drawer and he just has infinity stones just laying in his drawer. He's like, oh yeah, those.
That's it. That's exactly what I was thinking of. That's exactly the scene I was thinking of.
Yeah. So he learns very quickly, though, that those don't have any power. They don't mean anything to them. In the TVA, they're powerless because of what the TVA is, and what they are capable of. Because their whole point as the TVA is to be there to. It's an organization that has been created outside of time and space that is tasked with preserving the timeline, keep it from branching off, The timeline is the be all and end all, isn't it? Like, that's what they're interested in. Is like you say, they don't want people or things diverted off that timeline. Everybody's got their place. But like you say, that escape scene, I loved that escape scene because it was like he was obviously thinking he was going to do it, and then he realized reasonably quickly that it wasn't going to happen. And if you can't beat them, join them. Right. What's really interesting, though, is we've already been explained the timeline once before. If anybody watched Doctor Strange, during Doctor Strange, the timeline is explained and like why it has to be kept sacred and why you can't allow it to branch off. And it's the whole concept. I've talked about this once before on Geek and Sassy, and not related to the MCU. But there was a series of books that I read once that the whole point of one timeline being there is only one. But in this book series, their whole thought is that there are multiple timelines, and it's something as simple as like when you woke up that morning and you made your decision that you wore a red shirt instead of a blue, split the timeline. Yeah. One of you wore a blue shirt, one of you wore a red shirt. So it's very interesting when you look at it from that. I'm totally fascinated by their whole like we work outside the realms of time, and you can only have one time zone. Or one timeline. One time zone would be.
Well, it's those kind of things. Those kind of things are very interesting. I don't know. Have you ever seen a film called Sliding Doors?
Yes, I have actually. It's been a long time, but yes.
Yeah, but it's that same concept, isn't it? With what happens. It's that thing of getting onto the train, getting onto the underground, or not getting onto the underground, and what happens from there. So. It's like she gets on. If I've got the order right, she gets on the train and she finds out that because she got on the train before she's meant to, she finds out her husband's having an affair, and she goes down that path. And I find those kind of things very interesting, like so interesting. Like the time discrepancies, because like you say, it's decisions that we make in life, but the TVA know all this. They know all this already.
They know your beginning. That's one of the things that they're doing in the time theaters. They're explaining to Loki, we know your beginning, we know your middle, we know your end. We know how you're supposed to end. There is only one outcome for you per this timeline.
Yeah.
And they're trying to keep it from branching off. So there would be no other outcome, which also again goes back to Doctor Strange. If you remember the whole thing, it's like I have gone through all the depths of time and I have come to blah blah. I used to know the exact number he spits off, but like I have come to this many conclusions, and there's only one in which we defeat Thanos. So again, there is only one timeline in which this takes place. The whole reason Loki has a whole reason why he's actually there. They're not upfront with it at first. They make it seem like it's his fault. Well, they kind of do. They tell him like it's your fault. And as the viewer, I'm like, but I mean, I know Loki is mischievous, but this seems odd. Like some of these things that they're blaming him for, like when would he have had the time to do this, basically? And then you're like, but time is like in a different perception, blah blah blah. But he ends up recruiting Loki. It takes a long time, and some more very like kind of sad, but uncovers more of his future. That involves Thor and Thanos, and it was just very, very well done. I was already like so into this, even just episode 1. It's very, very well done. So excited.
it laid the groundwork perfectly for what was to come. And what I love is that they almost kept like the exposition to that one episode, you know, and then they let everything else play off as a set piece almost. You know, and then it was like saying it. You know, we're going to be obviously talking more and more about it, but you know, like I said, the TVA had their reasons, and Mobius had his reasons, and
right.
You find out more about the variants and, you know, the different Lokis that there are out there. And it was so good. So good.
Yes, I totally agree. So to not like rush, but to speed it up, because you're right. Mobius recruits Loki and makes him understand, like, there are variants of you running around because you're causing problems with the timeline, and we can't have variants of you. There should be you. That's
you are the god of mischief, and you are causing us a lot of mischief and shit.
Because every version of you, or at this point he thinks there's only one version of him causing a problem, a Loki variant, and they've been attacking all the Minutemen in previous time periods, which at this point had me kind of thinking, because I'm like, wait a second, Loki is mischievous, but he's not really he is and he isn't a villain. So why, even if it's just a variant of him, unless it's an evil variant of him, which would be eviler, is that a word? I don't know. Anyway.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So I'm already thinking to myself, but there has to be a reason that this is being done, because Loki doesn't just kill. Not really.
Yeah, he's a classic anti-hero, isn't he? He starts off bad, but there's good in there, and you know, I think particularly after, you know, everything that happened with his brother, he's got, you know, it's everything's not black or white with Loki. There's shades of grey there, and that works great as a character.
So we see that these Minutemen, which is part of Hunter C-20, who has been kidnapped, and even B-15, they are part of little Minutemen, like militia groups, basically, that they go out and they reset the timeline in these different places, that this Loki variant has been causing trouble and taking out the Minutemen. They're forced to reset the timeline because Loki stalls for too long, and they're kind of trying to use their Loki to understand and help capture this variant. Mobius, of course, assists Loki in kind of testing a theory for finding where it's hiding, which is in an apocalyptic event, which makes total sense when they're trying to figure out why is this variant not registering anywhere. Well, they wouldn't register inside an apocalyptic event because this event is of no consequence. It's supposed to happen.
Yes.
So we go to one of my favorite apocalyptic events, which is in 79 AD, Pompeii, when, of course, Mount Vesuvius goes.
Everybody should have a favorite apocalyptic event.
I do have, yes, I have had this one since a child. I have always been heavily interested in Pompeii, down to the fact of, like, when we learned in school that there were people that were found centuries later literally just still making dinner. It's like they had no time. So this is terrifying to me and interesting. So, yes, it goes to my favorite apocalyptic event, Pompeii. And he's, like, warning the locals, which is hysterical. I'm just gonna make up a new word. And I'm knocking things off my desk. Apparently, I got excited about it.
That's fine, because Pompeii gets you that.
Yeah, no. I went to move my chair and knocked something too hard. Anyway, so what I find hysterical about this is, like, he's in modern day clothing, essentially, and he's, like, in 79 AD, and these people are looking at him like, you're a little weird, but, like, they really don't seem to care. Like, nothing seems to be fazing them, and he's like, you're gonna die, and they're like, okay. So
and then they realize you're Tom Hiddleston, damn it, you're okay, you can come through.
Oh, that's that lovely chap. He's fantastic. We're gonna let him stay.
Yeah, but like you say, so they play off these past events that obviously we know about in our history, geography, wherever you did it, and then they realize or they find out that the variant's actually in about 20. Was it? I can't remember the exact date. Was it about 2060, something like that?
Alabama, why, Marvel, did you do this? You terrified me I am now absolutely scared of 2050. 2050, I don't know that I want you to come because I would still, God willing, be alive in 2050 because it's already 2021, almost 2022. I'm not going to be that old. I don't want to die.
It's only 29 years away, dear.
Right, exactly. It doesn't sound like it, but it sounds like way further. So, they locate her in a hurricane in 2050 Alabama. Oh, sweet Jesus, that makes me like my insides hurt. This would not be my favorite apocalyptic event because this would be how I die. So, but they find her, and this is when we get our first glance at the Loki, or we kind of do, because at first we're jumping from person to person. Super cool ability, by the way.
Yes.
Be able to kind of like jump from person to person. But the variant reveals herself as a female Loki. Mobius at this time finds C20, who has been kidnapped, and she has given up classified location to the creator of the TVA, the Timekeepers. Or has she?
Ooh. I feel like stroking the beard again.
Right? You should. We should have known at this point that Loki would want to know more and follow her. And she makes it very clear that she does not want to be called female Loki. Her name is Sylvie.
Yes, she has a definite name.
She's a definite name. Her name is Sylvie. Totally different name. She is Loki, though, from a different timeline. The breach and the branch.
She just happens to be a female version of him.
Exactly.
But doesn't call herself Loki.
No, just doesn't call herself Loki. So she stashes the reset charges and bombs the sacred timeline to create multiple branches, which forces the TVA to kind of go into action because they don't want multiple branches. And she leaves Alabama for TVA headquarters through her cool little time door, and Loki chases as Mobius is like, please don't do that.
You tell somebody not to do something, and that's just like red flag to a bull, isn't it?
I'm sorry. If a variant version of me appears in front of me and tells me you've been lied to, if you want to know the truth, follow me. Well, it is me telling me that. I'm going to believe me.
Funnily enough, I'm gonna trust myself on this.
Right. Just so you're aware, if myself showed up and told myself, this is confusing. Anyway, I would follow myself. I'm just saying. Who knows me better than me?
Yes.
So he does. He does what anybody would do, and he follows himself and gives chase and leaves Mobius behind. He again attempts to recruit the variant to help him take down the Timekeepers, but kind of falls flat. Renslayer arrives. I don't know. What do you think about Renslayer? Like, were your spidey senses already tingling?
Yeah, you knew she wasn't going to be a good person. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think at this point I'd already thought like Mobius was going to be the good guy in all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't convinced about the B-15 and all that, but I was like already, yeah. She's hiding something here from
I got that like at the beginning when Mobius first has his little meeting, and she's like, "I thought we were friends," and he's like, "We are friends," and yeah, I was like, "No, I don't like you."
No, just no honey.
Obviously, both of these variants are able to escape to 2077 to Lamentus 1, which is a moon that is doomed to collide with a planet in just a few hours. This little device that they have that transported them there, it's called a TemPad. They get stuck. So Sylvie and Loki get stuck. And this is when she actually refers to herself as Sylvie. But she is forced at this point to side with and kind of will team up with Loki. But this is when we know that Loki isn't the bad guy that everyone makes him out to be.
No.
The conversation that he has with her in like the train car, it's essentially like a train car, was very complicated.
Like I say, he is the anti-hero, you know. He's like he's always like an unwilling villain at times. You know what I mean? He wants to be good, but damn it, you know.
But ultimately, he does what's best for him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And this, I've got to be honest, this is probably my favorite episode of the season because you had that opening scene, didn't you, when Sylvie revealed herself to her best mate.
Mm-hmm.
And then that whole, I mean, we'll go into it, but that whole end scene where, you know, when they're trying to get off the planet is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And the lady that plays Sylvie.
Yes.
Is, I had never heard of her before, or if I didn't realize who she was.
No, she's been in a few shows over here, but like, nothing major. Well, I say major, like nothing that would travel over to America. Let's put it that way. Like, you know, every jobbing actor in America, every jobbing actor in Britain's been on Casualty at some point. You know, that kind of thing. It's like Casualty's like our version of CSI or ER was. You know, everybody's been on it at some time.
I think I remember scrolling through the list, and she was on Mount Pleasant, which I am familiar with.
Yes,
I love Mount Pleasant. And so I just didn't recognize her. I didn't realize that was her. And then she's, of course, it's like you said, she was also in an episode of Midsummer Murders. Again, I feel like everyone that's on British television is at some point on Midsummer Murders.
Everybody's been a body on Midsummer Murders.
Exactly. Like, at this point, they might hire me. I love that show. That's an amazing show. Again,
Miranda's come over to judge a gardening contest.
I mean, you don't need me to talk. I'm just a dead body. Like, sometimes I pretend to be sleeping when my kid really wants me to be awake. So I'd make a really good dead body, just so you know, Midsummer Murders. I'd do an excellent job. Be like, tourist came over from America and was stabbed in the back. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, Sophia Di Martino is her name, and she is a fabulous Sylvie.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
I adore her so much. When they first tossed her in there, I wasn't sure how I felt about this, not because it was a female Loki, but because I wasn't sure where this was going. So it wasn't that I had an aversion to a female Loki. I don't have an aversion to a female it changed to anything. It's just, where are you going with this? Basically?
Yeah. You want to know where the story's going, don't you?
Right. It needs a good story. Don't change it to a female for the sake of it being a female. And in this instance, it is what it needed. It was supposed to happen. Yeah. So they're stuck on Lamantis, and well, let's just say the Tim pad gets destroyed. And they're trying to scour this planet, or this moon rather, it is a moon, not a planet, to find a power source, and it does not go well. They learn about the Ark, which is a spacecraft the two hypothesize to be able to recharge the Tim pad. But of course, while attempting to kind of evade a train to the launch bus, the guards force Loki and Sylvie out. And that's when the device is completely broken. And they're forced to travel on foot. They have a wonderful argument of basically if you were arguing with yourself. It's like if you were arguing with the devil and the angel side of yourself. Like, it's fantastically done. And this is when Sylvie reveals to Loki that while she was enchanting C20, which was our part of our militia, our Minutemen group that was kidnapped by Sylvie, when she was enchanting her for information on the Timekeepers, she repressed a memory of her life. And Loki says, well, that's not possible because the agents were created by the TVA, basically to run the TVA. And that's when it kind of gets revealed to you that there is more to this than meets the eye. And everyone at the TVA is actually themselves a variant.
Yeah.
And has been stolen from the timeline to protect the timeline.
The TVA are not all that they seem.
No. That would be horrific. Wouldn't you? Oh, don't you agree? Like, if you were just plucked from the earth, like no one knew where you went. There was clearly like no body left or anything. You were just plucked and put in some sort of zone somewhere with no memories of your previous life. And so, like, obviously that's why Mobius has an affinity for jet skis. In his previous life, he probably loved to ride jet skis on his time off, or maybe he was an instructor, or maybe he sold them. I don't know, but his life in some way revolved around jet skis.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of like you say, just that mind control and having your memories wiped away, and that office and that environment. That's it for you.
Yeah.
There's nothing for you apart from this.
It's very strange. So we got to the part that you actually really liked. We're arriving, this has all been explained and minds have been blown, both the audience and the characters.
Yeah.
And they arrive to the lunch place.
So basically they explain that there's one flight or one rocket out of here, and they've got to be on it, basically.
And clearly they don't make it. They're only able to witness the destruction and demise of this moon. And as they're planning for their own demise, the two kind of continue to bond with themselves, each other. I don't know. Again, I ask myself a lot of questions during this.
Is it mating? Is it mating really?
Well, and I have a point to bring with that when we get just a few seconds in. So eventually they hold hands because they're comforting each other. They're comforting themselves and each other. And it creates a branch in the sacred timeline, which you're not supposed to do.
Yes.
Because these events shouldn't create a branch. These events are supposed to happen. And
they are never meant to even meet each other, never mind kiss.
Right. So when they hold hands at this moment, trying to comfort each other because they think they're about to die because they're on this moon that is destined to explode, there's no way around it. The timeline shouldn't branch because this event is meant to happen. But them being there together and comforting each other is not meant to happen. And the timeline splits. TVA shows up. Of course, they arrest the duo, but actually we're kind of glad they do because they are rescued, even though they're arrested. They're thrown back into time cells. Loki tries really hard to tell Mobius of, what Sylvie is and what she told him. Mobius is confused. I mean, would you not be if you'd been an agent for however long he's been?
Yeah, I think this is the point where you kind of realize, you had an idea, Mobius was, he'd got his own brain, but
right.
You kind of realize at that moment that, he knew, but he wasn't going to say anything, if that makes sense.
Right.
It was like a deep down repression thing where he obviously knew he had a good idea, but wasn't going to rock the boat because, he could, one person on his own can't, basically.
Right. So Mobius doesn't believe, though, right now. We get a really cool sequence, a really cool scene where Loki's put into his time cell and he's repetitively abused by Sif, which is a previous character. It's a time loop that's forcing him to confess his narcissism, which is really fantastic and also saddening at the same time. It's really kind of sad watching him because he understands what's going on now. He understands Sylvie is not in the wrong. And while he's very narcissistic, he realizes that this is wrong and he needs to do something to try to fix it. So he's trying to be a hero right now. Obviously, Grinslayer and Mobius kind of decide to celebrate the capture of Sylvie. But this is when you realize that Mobius is questioning some things. And he swaps his tent pad out for hers, goes to the library, and he does confirm suspicions about P20 that there are variant origins from her. So he retrieves Loki, And this is when Mobius is pruned by Renslayer herself. And I had two thoughts when this happened. One, either maybe when they're pruned, they really aren't dead because she seems to truly care about him. Or two, no, she just pruned him. He's dead. She's free.
I think it was a mix of the two. Like, you know, she knew like she was going to get rid of him, and like because of the whole timeline thing, you know, he's not dead, but he's never, you know, he's quote unquote never coming back.
Right.
But, yeah, that bit when Mobius, you know, fully clicked in that, you know, what she'd done. It was like, oh God.
I felt so betrayed because they kind of insinuate that maybe these two have more than just like a friendship.
Yeah.
Like more than just like a platonic friendship.
It was almost like they'd been friends since like high school vibe, that kind of thing, you know. And they'd gone through the ranks together.
Yes, basically. Or like maybe they were dating.
I don't know about that. I think it was more of a long-term friendship kind of thing. Like it was almost like say like two police officers who'd started on the same day, but one managed to get that little bit higher in the food chain. That's the vibe I was getting.
Okay, I could see that. I was getting more of a...
But I know where you're coming from, because I did think as well that like Mobius maybe has feelings for her, but it wasn't being reciprocated, if that makes sense.
Okay, it does. Yeah, okay. I like both of those options. But Renslayer gives in, and the whole time, the whole thing is Sylvie and Loki both have been wanting to be taken to the Timekeepers. They want the Timekeepers to answer. They have questions. And Renslayer gives in to their demands this time and thinks, sure, well, I'll take you to the Timekeepers' chambers, where we run into B-15, who B-15 now knows the truth and is on their side. Rinslayer's knocked out. Sylvie uses her weapon to reveal, actually, the Timekeepers are just phonies. They're just animatronics. It's like going to the Chuck E. Cheese. Man behind the curtain doesn't matter. This brings up lots of questions. And at this point, I had figured some things out. Or at least I thought I had. Wasn't certain. Thought I had.
Yeah, at this point, I was thinking that Renslayer was the big bad. That's where I was. Like, you know, she was the one controlling everything, if that makes sense.
Right, especially when she pops back up.
Yeah.
So, in the next move, Loki prepares to confess his feelings to Sylvie, but he's pruned by Renslayer because she's, like I said, she's kind of popped back up. She was just knocked out. She wasn't actually pruned or anything.
I've got to say as well, that was a great fight scene. That scene's a great scene.
Fantastic from beginning to end. The whole thing when they're doing Timekeepers, Sylvie, all of it. Sylvie obviously disarms Renslayer and attempts to interrogate her on the origins of the TVA. Basically, Renslayer's clueless though. She kind of instead, Renslayer informs her that Loki is alive, that when you prune someone, they just go to something called the void at the end of time, which is crazy, and I kind of equated it to like purgatory, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you know, it was like a halfway house between like being alive and dead. Yeah.
And we learned that in this void there are so many variants of Loki that have all been through when they've been trying to clean up the timelines. So there's not just one Loki, because she keeps messing up the timeline, causing it to branch. There's more and more Loki. And they all have an event, a Nexus event, that was like their thing that caused the timeline to branch.
Who was your favorite variant Loki? Which one was your favorite?
Probably a lot. Well, people on the internet referred to him as classic Loki, or people on the internet referred to him as old man Loki. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe Wiki refers to him as classic Loki, who was played by Richard E. Grant.
The fabulous Richard E. Grant.
And he's fantastic. So like he had posted a couple of days leading up to this on like his Instagram or something, where he was like, my grandfather always used to tell me that putting on silly costumes and makeup was going to get me nowhere in life. Wish he could see me now. And I thought that was fantastic. So I really, really enjoyed what the wiki is referring to as classic Loki.
I was rather partial to alligator Loki. That was my personal favorite.
So for the last 2 weeks, my child has been roaming around this house singing a song to the tune of Watermelon Sugar. It goes, alligator Loki, hi, alligator Loki, hi.
See what you've started, Harry. See what you've done.
It's hysterical. But every now and then it just randomly comes from his room. So I think he really enjoyed alligator Loki as well. Kid Loki had his good points. So
I honestly think this was like my favorite episode of the run, and I don't know if it was just because Richard E. Grant was so fabulous in it.
He's amazing.
It was just that whole just everybody. It was everybody playing having to play the same role basically, but B having to be different things. So they got the baby Loki and the kid Loki, and the older Loki, the female Loki. Everybody's playing that same role, but they're bringing their own little spin on it. Mm-hmm. Which I loved. Absolutely loved this one.
I think it's a fantastic episode as well, because like you said, they are all Loki, but they are all different. They're not meant to be the same as him, so that kind of plays into everything. So when we get here, we learn that the void is where all of the people go, and I just lost my train of thought. Okay, sorry. So the void is where all of the pruned people go, or at least we know that that's where all the pruned Lokis have gone. Yeah. So we're assuming that anyone pruned goes to the void. In this void is an entity, storm-like entity monster named Elias. And several of these people have their idea is like to hide from Elias. There's no way to defeat him, so they just do their best to stay alive in the void. They all take refuge in a bunker together. They end up, there's 4 Lokis that appear. To include President Loki, who is just fantastic. It was played by Hiddleston, so it's like an exact, this time, this variant is the exact version of him, basically. Almost. There's a brawl, all-out brawl that ensues
like the brawl.
Loki. This brawl is fantastic. I loved every minute of it. But it's this point that there's a big discussion that happens because several of the Lokis kind of remove themselves from the brawl. And there's a discussion. No, we're going to try to take on Elias. Oh, wait, if I'm here, maybe she's here. So, what about this?
It was that whole thing at the end as well. Like they just happened to find Mobius, and so they just happened to walk, find each other. It was like, this is quite a big planet. Are you telling me that they just happened to walk together and just?
Well, they were both pruned, and you knew it was inevitable. Like they had to find each other, basically.
Yeah.
Like you knew it was going to happen, and it kind of has to. So there's that. But what's really cool is the last time they saw each other, he was actually going to admit or female Loki or Sylvie. Very much called. A lot has happened in here, but just to sum it up, we're kind of getting to the end of that part. They're theorizing that Elias has to be the gatekeeper for the TVA. This Minute we found out isn't so adorable as we think she is. She actually has maybe some ulterior motives of her own that Miss Minutes there, which is fantastic voice work as well.
I'm back. Sorry, listeners. I'm going to let him inside the studio. You were breaking up quite badly there. That's it. I can hear your voice again. That was lovely.
Fantastic. No, I was explaining to the lovely people, just kind of giving them a brief, like, not trying to rush them through this part, but there's like a lot of talky, like, hey, we realized Eliath must be the protector of the thing at the end that created TVA.
Basically, Elias, what you've got to get through to the big boss, haven't you?
Yes.
That's it. If you want to use the computer game parlance.
Yeah, the whole, like, you got to get through this to get through to the big bad. And Miss Minutes, like I was telling the boys and girls here, she is not as innocent as we've been led to believe this whole time we've been introduced to the TVA.
Yeah, I love Miss Minutes. I like, she could have like her own TV show for me.
Yes, fantastic casting there as well. Tara Strong for the voiceover of Miss Minutes. If you don't know who she is, she's fabulous in the world of voiceover. Look her up. And this is when we discover, though, Miss Minutes tries to give them a personalized offer from the one true creator of the TVA.
See, you've got it. You've got the voice. You've got it.
It is at this point, though, when she says, "He who remains," and that's just what they keep calling him. I knew who it was.
You did.
I knew who it was. I actually was like playing on my phone when she said that, and I like slapped my phone down the couch and was like, and I was like, nothing. Like, I realized at this moment who He Who Remains was. Loki and Sylvie obviously are on their way to meet him because they do not take Miss Minutes' offer. Like, they're like, no, like, we're doing this.
We want to know.
They actually they go later to meet He Who Remains. He informs them he's orchestrated this whole thing, including them coming into the Citadel and being part of the Citadel, making it through Eliath. Classic Loki sacrificing himself to Eliath so they can make it in, the whole shebang.
It's his timeline. He's created the whole thing. He knows exactly where you're going to be at all times.
Right. There's only one timeline. There's only one timeline allowed. And I did this because there was a multiversal war, and like each version of yourself was fighting each other, kind of like the all-out brawl with the Lokis. And in order to prevent the rise of malicious variants, he decided that there needs to be one timeline. So he gives these two kind of a really hard decision. Kill him, and if you do, basically there's just going to be a giant loop of he's going to start all over, or take his place because he's old and he's tired and he doesn't want to do this anymore. And if they take his place, the second timeline begins to form. You know, the timeline will stay and it'll be fine. He even says you can go back to the TVA. You can explain to them everything you've learned. You can tell them what happened and that you're in charge. You don't even have to lie to them. You can tell them all the truth.
I mean, let's be honest, though. This is like the very definition of an offer that's too good to be true. It's like, how thick do you think these people must be not to take this up?
Right. My thing is, too, like, if you took the decision to not kill him and to keep the timeline sacred, what would you be screwing up, like, to your timeline? Because Sylvie has her timeline, and Loki has our timeline, what we know. And then we know that all these other Lokis have their own timeline. So, like, there's a lot that goes into a decision like this, and you can't take it lightly. I will say I was on the side of our Tom Hiddleston Loki in the sense of he was like, let's not kill him. Let's keep our head straight. Let's not do this. And Sylvie is on the branch of, like, the TVA is the reason I don't have a family. I want him to suffer and die. That was the whole reason I came here. That's been my whole mission the whole time. And this is when he actually does does basically, he's kind of already told Sylvie he is fallen in love with her. This is what he really tells her. And this is where the narcissism came in for me, because who can truly ever love a narcissist?
A narcissist can only ever love one person.
Itself.
Yes. So it's got to be. So it's a weird relationship, but it's perfect at the same time because, like you say, they can only love one person.
Yeah, and then at the same time, it's like she points out, they are the same, but they are different because she can't trust him.
He can't trust her.
And he can't trust her. So it's a very strange paradox that we've gone into. So obviously we know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And we knew they were going to kiss. Like, woohoo! All the romance people out there are like, yeah!
we like a bit of romantic drama in our comic book fantasy. Damn it!
I do. I'm here for it. But I kind of saw this coming. I kind of felt like, okay, it's not going to turn out the way I want it to, because that would be too buttoned up, too tied off with a bow, right? If we just said they kiss and she's like, you're right, we shouldn't kill him, let's continue. So that's when I realized that at that moment when they kissed, I couldn't get excited because this was not going the way that I thought it was going to.
Yeah. Well, I think you knew at this point this wasn't going to be like a one and done, like a one division. This wasn't going to be a one and done season. So there had to be something else that was going to happen. There was going to be no real happy ending at the end of this.
Right. So obviously we get on a ton of spoilers. We're just going to keep on. Sylvie kills Heath.
We've spoiled pretty much everything else in this stage.
We told you, we warned you in advance. Sylvie kills him and pushes Loki through the door using that TemPad. And we immediately see, which actually it's already happened, because he leans on his desk at one point and he actually goes, oh, there it is. And he tells him, okay, now I don't know what's going to happen. I knew it was going to happen, and then something that you can't see at that moment, which I have a theory that lines up with a bunch of other people's theories. He pauses and he leans down on his desk and he's like, no, I don't know what's going to happen. Now, that changed. And you actually see the timeline already kind of starting to split and crack. My theory, and most of the internet have the same theory, is at that exact moment is when Wanda getting her powers and deceiving Agatha. Because actually, if you play them side by side, they line up identically. Boop, boop.
Do they really?
They really do. And at the moment in which she is bursting, getting her full Scarlet Witch powers in the air, and defeating and taking on Agatha, is the moment that he leans down the desk and goes, "Oop! There it is."
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yes. So my theory, and most of the internet's is when he's like, oh, there it is. There's the change. Now I don't know what's going to happen. The first is Wanda coming into her powers, which we see at the end of WandaVision, which you and I already discussed, the whole tie-in to the multiverse of madness. So Sylvie's killed him, and the multiversal war was at bay because he was keeping the timeline perfect, correct?
Yes.
So she's kicked Loki back to the TVA, or so we think. So we think. And at this point, if you want to actually, we'll just go ahead and say, if you aren't sure about who remains, he is Kang the Conqueror. He will be the bad guy in believe the
it's he's going to be the bad guy in at least Ant-Man, isn't he?
And at least Ant-Man, yes. So which ties into one of my next theories. Since he's the bad guy in Ant-Man, and Ant-Man deals with the quantum realm, and no one has been able to find the Citadel because it's like at the end of the world. How much do you want to bet that all of this is in the room?
See, I learn things when I come on this. I like to say I'm a total MCU novice, and you teach me things. This is good.
But you teach me things about other things, so it works out.
Okay.
So, Sylvie collapses in regret because she sees that the timeline is destroyed, so she does have some regret. She has murdered someone. This time, it's changed everything. Loki is left heartbroken. But then he rushes because he's like, crap, I've got to tell them what's going on. He encounters Mobius and B-15, attempting to warn them. They see like the timeline like on their scale, their Richter, if you want to so speak. And they don't recognize him. They don't. They're like, you're an analyst. Who are you? Tell me your name, analyst. They don't know who he is.
And so that was the bit, wasn't it? They were like, who are you? What? I've never met you before, sort of thing. It's like, okay, so this is, you're like, so this is a different timeline now. So this is where he's got to go
into the wrong timeline that broke off. And as we fade out to end season 1, we see the timekeeper statues have changed from what they were before.
Yes.
And they are now Kang. They're
Ba.
So yes, so my couple of theories are that moment in time in which he says, boop, there it is. This is the change, is Wanda coming into her powers. 2, my other theory is that this Citadel at the end of time is actually in the quantum realm, in which time does move different. Time is completely crazy. 3, I think this all blends together because obviously we have a a crisis that's going to take place because we had a multiversal war, right? Which he refers to. Is the whole reason he created this whole timeline and made it a one timeline only deal. And Doctor Strange and Wanda, we know both, are going to take place in the multiverse of madness.
Absolutely, and the thing is as well, like this hasn't. I'm guessing you've seen it. This hasn't tied into Black Widow yet. So when all this gets tied in to what happened there, all bets are off. All bets are off.
It's just crazy, and somebody could come at me and say my theories are crazy. I'm behind on some of the comics. I have read some of them, so like I knew immediately. I was like, oh crap, that is who this person is. Like I knew, but then the quantum realm thing came in later. I would also like everybody to kind of go check out other theories because there's a whole bunch that weave in, like even the original Doctor Strange movie with actually the Ancient One basically kind of lies when she is explaining to Hulk the whole here's what the timeline is and here's why it has to stay this way, and she talks about if it were to split, blah blah blah. So remember, Ancient One, actually, if you've seen that movie, that's been out for years now, she does some lying. She's a little deceptive, and we've discovered that. Right. So if you go back and rewatch the scene where she's talking to Mark Ruffalo as Bruce about the timeline when they're on the rooftop, it plays in as well, where you're like, oh crap, all of this has been leading up to tie in together.
And the thing is, like everything makes sense. That's the thing. Like I don't know who they have to do all the storyboarding and who has to tie up all everything to everything. But it blows my mind that you basically had like 3 different TV shows and a movie come out, and everything's got to tie in together.
And
but
so
it all
many
works.
Comic books and
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I would encourage you to kind of, I actually, this is one before, there's one that we did before that you said, what do you think about the fan theories? And I said, I think they're rubbish. This one, I don't think it's crazy. I also would love to see more from Miss Minutes, just like I would Jimmy and Darcy from WandaVision. I think there are side characters that all deserve, like the little paper pusher guy, the TVA, that's like terrified and is trying to play with the Tesseract like it's a Rubik's Cube, and he's just tossing like Infinity Stones like they're just paperweights. He's funny. I'd like to see more from him. But yeah.
It's gonna be absolutely. So where would you have it? Where would you have it compared to, say, the other two TV shows? Let's just deal with the TV shows for now.
Oh, man, that's hard because I loved WandaVision so much, but I think I'll have to go. And I loved all three of them. I really did, and for different reasons. But if you're making me rank them, I am making
you random.
Okay, I think I'm gonna go Wanda, Loki, and then Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that'd be my order as well.
Just because I had strong emotional attachments to WandaVision, I outwardly laughed and cried.
Yeah.
In Loki, I did outwardly laugh like several times. I got teary at one moment, but not when people would think.
Well, I genuinely felt like WandaVision was like a once in a generation show. Basically, for the way, the concept, the way it was acted, the way it was shot, the way it was filmed, everything about it.
I genuinely cried. We talked about that on our WandaVision episode. I like sobbed. And I think that's where people do their ranking, basically. People talk about, for example, like when people talk about their ranking of the MCU as a whole, Guardians of the Galaxy is very high up there for me, extremely high, especially the second one. I've told the story on Geek and Sassy. I think I've told the story on another Place to Be Nation show. If you want to go back and listen, but brief rundown, I had freshly lost my father when number 2 came out. And he actually is not my biological father. No one knows that because my mom clearly had a type. Well, people do know that. Like, it's not like a big secret, but like people didn't really know that growing up because I have my mother's maiden name and my mom, like I said, really has a type. So people didn't really know that. I look a lot like my dad. But I had lost him pretty close to this movie coming out. And the movie deals heavily in that, and being like left by your real father, meeting and realizing who the father is that always took care of you. And there's actually a song that is played right around the time where he realizes Yondu was his dad all along. Yeah. That was played at my father's funeral.
Oh, so I know exactly the song, and I'm gonna go.
When anyone's like, what's your number one MCU? And I'm like, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And they're like, whoa, that came off really quick. And I'm like, there's just such a strong emotional connection to that movie. Yeah. That I can't. And like most of the music that's played in the first and second movie is music I grew up with that my dad loved as well. So,
I'll put it another way about the TV shows, right? So WandaVision, for me, could only work as a TV show, like the concept and
for sure.
Whereas Falcon and Loki could be both a film. You know, it would have been a brilliant film, and it's a very good TV show.
No, I totally agree with that wholeheartedly.
Right, so but for me, like I said earlier, WandaVision for me is like this once in a generation show, like the concept and the acting performance is like, I'm so pleased that they've got so they've got so many Emmy nominations, both for the cinematography and the acting. That this is a broader conversation, but that would never have happened. Like even 2 or 3 years ago, that would never have happened.
For sure. And I think maybe it has a strong attachment with people are around our age because it does carry across like. I know we weren't young enough to be alive when they did the shows that they model the first couple of episodes on, but we watched reruns. Our grandparents loved those shows. Our parents loved those shows.
I think I said when we did that show that, I don't think I ever saw I Love Lucy, but I recognize the way it's shot and the filming and the 2.4 children and all that kind of thing. And obviously, Bewitched was a huge show over here.
Right.
So
Yes, I love that show.
That episode, but like I don't want to turn this into a WandaVision conversation because I could wax lyrical about that show all day. But like I thought Loki was excellent. I thought it was and it's like I said, it could have worked as a film, but I'm so glad because if you hadn't done it as a film, you wouldn't have had that fifth episode. That fifth episode is spectacular. So you'd have had all the set pieces like when the rocket tries to leave the planet. You'd have had all that in it, but you wouldn't have had an episode like that, but you wouldn't have had a performance like the Richard D. Grant, that kind of ham-fisted, British actor.
Well, I love TV shows. Like, I don't know, but this new concept of turning things like this into television shows, or series, miniseries, whatever, I think has a really appealing concept. We've talked about before. I know sometimes we get repetitive, but I think we get repetitive because it continues to be the same, right? Yeah. Or not the same as in like, oh, it's repetitive. Like we are being repetitive because we feel the same. Like we care about this so much. But like, as I've mentioned before, what I really have enjoyed about these being series or mini series coming out once a week, or, here, let's have two, have two more, is that it's become a family time thing for my household.
It's so refreshing, and again, not to get. I think I've said it on a previous episode. It's made these things must see TV.
Yes,
and it gives you that choice of whether you want to watch one episode at a time or you want to wait to the end and binge it. You've got that choice because these shows are. Obviously, I know WandaVision was a bit longer, but they were only half-hour episodes. These are only 6 episodes. You could do it in a day. Quite easily do it in a day if you wanted to.
But I've heard some other families too say that like, oh, well, I started, my sister would come over and watch this with me, or me and my kids were watching this. And so I think it's kind of cool that we've gone back to that night, that thing that we had, like what we grew up with, like in the 90s, where in the 90s, Friday night was like actually a TV night show. Time. So I think that's really cool, and that's why I have continued to enjoy these. Broken down into television shows instead of, like you said, they could have been movies easily, one movie or 2 movies. I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to see where they go with this. We are getting a season 2. Clearly, it'll probably be exactly about a year. It usually always is exactly a year. So I'm sure as the other things come out between now and then, we'll have more theories and more reviews for you. Of course, that's why Ben and I are here. We're here to talk about mischievous people.
We like the mischief. Damn it,
we like the mischief. So we loved Loki so much, and the cool thing about Loki is I don't think you could classify it as an American or a British television show. I think they fall under both. I think that one falls under both. But the show that we're going to briefly talk about, because we could go on for hours about this next show as well. Probably will.
I certainly will.
But this is probably not the last time that you're going to hear us, and it's certainly not the first time you've heard it mentioned in jokes between the two of us. And to preface this, we actually tweeted the hosts of this show to try to find out what their favorite tea was, because they are also very British. I'm waiting for a response, and I feel like it will come. I just think that Greg Davis is bad at Twitter. And Alex Horn is just so busy taking care of every task that Greg Davis gives him to do that he doesn't have time to answer me. Because
he's got a lot of admin to take care of.
A lot of admin. When you're the assistant to the Taskmaster, there's no time for games. Or are there?
Well, there's always time for games. There's always
time for games. So we are going to talk about the wonderful games from the amazing Taskmaster, Mr. Greg Davies himself. Series 11 of Taskmaster, which if you are not familiar with Taskmaster, get on our level. It is a wonderful show. It is actually a BAFTA award-winning comedy panel game show.
Yes. Now I know they tried it in America, didn't they? They did do an American version. I know that.
So when I was using my handy dandy app that I'm not allowed to go into, When I was using my handy dandy app that I use to watch said shows, apparently there are Taskmasters in several countries.
Oh yeah. They've sold the rights all over the world.
Yeah,
I know that.
And there's a thumbnail, obviously, so you know which one. And on the UK one, obviously, it's Greg and Alex sitting in their chairs, their thrones. But there's another one that has Alex in it with a different host, and I keep meaning to click on that because I'm wondering if that's the one where they tried it in the US. Like maybe Alex was the side guy for that one too.
Yeah,
I don't know. So the main premise of this game is Greg Davis is the Taskmaster.
Yeah. So what it is, it's a show presented by Greg Davis, and he plays a character called the Taskmaster, and
but he's also himself.
Yeah, he's also himself as well. And then he has an assistant called Little Alex Horn, and if you peel behind the curtain, you know that Alex Horn is the creative brain behind this show. So, so everything that's done is done through Alex, if that makes sense. So every single task that's been set up is that, he's part of like, at least I think there's like a committee of them that, consultants who do it all. So every show, every series has 5 different comedians / entertainment people on it.
They're all obviously on this one. It is the British version.
Yes.
So they're all well known in the UK, Europe. So
there won't be anybody that our American friends know. I don't think.
I will say, okay. So I will say it depends on your taste in television, because as I was watching, so there are 11 series at this moment. Today we're gonna briefly talk about series 11.
Yes.
I have watched completely on my own 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I skipped to 11 because you totally can with this. And I knew some of these people. I knew several of the people.
Okay.
I even knew one of ours from the series that we're going to discuss. So.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
But, so on each show they have. I'm pretty sure there's 4 tasks. I might be wrong on that. 4. I should know that.
Usually, kind of, sort of. So you're right. It's 5 kind of, if you count the prize and the live.
Yeah. So that's it. So they've got a prize task. So every episode you can win the prizes that every contestant. So everything will have a certain category. So it'll be things like bring in the best thing beginning with G.
My favorite one on this one, like on episode 1 of this series that we are talking about too, is this cracks me up. Best thing you can carry, but only just. Like that's.
I love the fact now that they're in season 11, they've had to like diversify the categories. You can get away with like best funny item in series 1, but you can't do that now.
No, now you're doing things like best drinking vessel. Okay, so I'll briefly there are how many episodes? 10?
10 in this season, yeah.
Yeah, 10 episodes in this season. As Ben said, they have to bring a different prize, which is task number 1 for each episode. All 5 comedians bring something different. So for our 10 episodes, we have best thing you can carry, but only just. Best drinking vessel. Most shocking thing, bigger than a cat, but smaller than a pig. Craziest thing. Best thing you can operate with your hand.
Take that as you want, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I was like, I left a pause for a reason. Most annoying thing. Best thing to hang on a wall that you wouldn't normally hang on a wall. Most satisfying wobbly thing. Which I've got to be honest, I'll interject there real quick. I made a note to myself on that one that I was like very disappointed that none of these British people decided to bring wibbly wobbly timey wimey anything.
I know it's different. I know it's called a different thing. Jello, isn't it? But I'd have gone Jello.
They did a lot of Jellos wobbly. We do the same thing, but I was just saying, like, nobody brought a Doctor Who thing that was like wibbly wobbly timey wimey. Yeah. I was like, it's wobbly. No one. You guys are British. So nattiest knitwear, which, that cracked me up. And then the thing that makes you look the toughest. These in themselves are hysterical. I highly encourage you to go watch it. For our U.S. friends, I will tell you, if you go to YouTube and you Google Taskmaster series, you can actually watch, I believe it's 1 through 8 or 9 on YouTube without having to have any weird YouTube subscription or anything like that, because you are in the U.S. So there's that.
If it's the same as what it is over here, so you got the Taskmaster official YouTube channel, and they've got the compilation playlists as well. If you just want to watch random things, so they have best prize task video and a worst prize task video, obviously, and like Miranda said, so you've had the prize task, and Greg will give out the points accordingly, 5 through to 1 on that, and then there'll be 3 different tasks throughout the show.
Which I learned a really cool fun fact about those tasks that you're talking about. So the tasks that Ben are talking about, so they do the prize, as he mentioned, they do like 2 to 3 other tasks, usually 3. And then they have a live thing that they do on stage at the end of the show to get the final points. Well, I learned, and I had thought I'd heard this say it here. Okay. I thought I had heard one of the other contestants mentioned this in a prior series that I had watched, and I kind of shrugged it off as like, okay, maybe I misheard. And then I heard it again on this series. We have Charlotte Ritchie, who I knew. She's from Ghost.
Yes.
Jamali Maddox, who I did not know, but he's hysterical.
He's amazing.
Lee Mack.
Lee Mack's probably the biggest name over here out of the 5.
He looked familiar, but I didn't know who he was. And then I looked him up, and apparently I was like, oh, okay, yes, I kind of know who you are now. I would imagine Would I Lie to You has been on BBC America. I'm guessing. Yeah. Mike Wozniak, who I did actually kind of know who he was.
Absolutely amazing.
Freaking hysterical. He is great.
It's TikTok o'clock.
And then Sarah Kendall, who I was not familiar with, but when I looked her up, I had actually seen her in a couple of things. I just didn't realize who she was. So in this, the reason I named them is because Mike Wozniak is the person that says it. I think him and Sarah talk about this at one point. And they say, or no, it was a Lee and Mike thing, because sometimes the tasks that they get later into the series, they do group tasks, and they always divide them up because there are 5 of them, 1 group of 3, 1 group of 2. And in this series, Lee and Mike got paired up. And there's one of the later episodes in this series, I want to say down at 8 or 9, where they do one of their little group pairings. And he makes the comment of, that's the first day that I had met him. That was our very first task, that thing that we had done together. And I was like, wait, but that doesn't even air until episode 8. So apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's why
these, and they don't know when they're going to air, what order they're going to air in or anything.
They don't know the order. That's why, if you notice, they're always wearing the same clothes.
Yes.
It's not just regular continuity. It's the fact that, like you say, everything's filmed out of sequence.
Yeah. I didn't know that, and I thought that was really interesting to find out that task that you're watching may have been the first one they recorded.
Yeah, one of the later scenes, one of the series you haven't seen. Alex says something to Greg when they do the first team task. He says, "Do you want to know how we put these teams together?" And Greg says, "Yes." And Alex says, "Because that's what their filming schedule allowed."
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So basically, if these guys are available together for 2 days, that's when we're going to do that. That's when we're going to do it.
Okay. So I didn't know that, and like I said, I think they had mentioned it before in one of the other series that I had watched. But I was like, oh, wait a second, and then I did the skip back and went, oh, he did just say that. So I thought that was really interesting too. Some of these tasks, we won't go through all of them because, obviously we're spoiling things. Clearly, but
it's what we do.
It is what we do. I will go ahead and tell you one of the ones that actually had me laughing so hard was the team task in episode 2, where they had to so it was have the longest argument. You must take it in turns. You must take it in turns to make a point using no more than 10 words, ending with a unique 4-letter word. You must look at each other throughout, and the person speaking must angrily wag their finger during the speech. And I'm doing this like people can see me. The argument is over, and then there's 10 seconds of silence, or if one of you look away. So they're reading these very strategically, because that's the other thing about these tasks. If you read it, if you reread it, you're like, oh wait, we can't do that, but I could do this. This is hysterical, because they're all standing on their block, and again, socially distanced, right? Because of Pandora's box, and so they're on these circles, like in a field, like 6 feet apart from each other, in like a triangle, obviously for the group of 3, and then just kind of standing directly across from each other, and they're like wagging their finger, but like Charlotte Ritchie is like paying compliments and wagging.
I've got to be honest. My favorite task of the lot, and it was an individual task for Mike, and it was simply fall.
Oh yes.
And he couldn't do it. He could not do it.
He just had to sit still, right?
Yeah. He was on that plane. They were on that plane, weren't that? This huge plane. He basically was on there for like 2 hours, and he could not fart. And in the end, they obviously were filming another task later on, and that's when he did. That's when he popped his hemorrhoid. That was one of the. And honestly, I can't remember exactly what he says, but his description of this hemorrhoid popping is one of the funniest things I've ever heard anybody ever say.
Oh, and I was like. He was serious, but it was so hysterical as well. So.
And my other one I liked, and it's on that same episode, is the one where everything's been deep fried. And
yes, and they're like, surely they wouldn't put something we can't eat. I'm like, it's Taskmaster. Yes, they would.
It's batter in batter.
Yes. The arranging of the 7 objects in order of how many sides they have, but you can only touch the objects with your face. But if anything falls off the table, you're disqualified, and you're wearing darkness goggles while you're doing it. That one was. There was one though that the whole time I wanted to message you, because there's little tiny twists to it. You have to seriously read the wording, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so one of them, this is alive, tie the very ends of the string to the arms of the glasses and then put the glasses on, right?
Yeah.
Simple, but there's like things that then Alex will be like, but you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do that, right?
Well, there's also the type. I can't remember if there was one in this one, but there's always those tasks where, they fool the contestants. Like in one season, they had to make the most exotic sandwich.
Yes.
And once they'd made the sandwich, Alex provides a lunchbox and in the lunchbox is part 2 of the task, which you guessed it is eat your sandwich. Fastest wins.
Poor Alex does have to eat some pretty interesting things.
Alex goes through a lot, bless him.
He does. But there's sometimes where, so there was one where they were supposed to try to make basically like steam rocks, like you would have in a sauna.
Yes.
Like, right? Like all you had to do, but you had to stand behind a certain line, correct? If you remember,
correct.
I don't remember. I was trying to find it so I could read the actual directions to the boys and girls here. But so basically you have to stand behind a certain line and somehow get your water, get something.
Yeah, you had to throw you had to throw something into the water to make it steam.
Yeah, here it is. Make the sauna stones hiss. You must be standing behind the rope when the stones hiss. You may not move the stones or the rope, and you may not use a hose. So the whole time I'm watching this, right? Do you know what I'm thinking to myself?
Go on.
Why didn't somebody just ask Alex to pour water on them?
Yeah. It's the simplest thing sometimes.
And I wonder if I came up with that because there is a prior season where they're like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and they look at Alex and they go, hey, come do this.
Well, I don't think you've seen it yet, but there's one season where the task is the longest time possible without blinking.
Oh God!
And Alex like 90 miles. Well, Alex even says, you just keep your eyes shut and then you never blink. And they're all like, and all of them have that same reaction. It's like, oh shit, because everybody's doing. It's
just like so simple of an explanation. Jamali figured one out.
He said his 11-year-old kid came up with that one.
That's super brilliant. Well, like the one that Jamali figured out, and I was like, he's so like, cover your lower half in biodegradable cling film and gaffer tape, so that no part of your lower half isn't covered in biodegradable cling film and gaffer tape, right? So it's just tape, and for those of you in the U.S., it's black electrical tape and saran wrap. Okay, so Jamali is the only one that figures it out. All the rest of them are like wrapping themselves like a mermaid. And Jamali just simply wraps one leg, wraps the other, and can walk like a semi-normal person. So it's like you really have to pay attention to no one told
the word. It's all about the wording.
Yes, no one said you have to saran wrap your legs together. They just said you have to cover your lower back.
Well, it was like that one. I think it's in the first episode where they have to move the plates from one table to the other.
Yes.
I think I can't remember who it was, but only one of them figured out. Well, it doesn't say anything about I can't move the table.
Yeah, deliver all plates to Alex. You may only travel by scooter, bicycle, or hoverboard when transporting plates. Every plate you drop will add 20 minutes to your time, and obviously you want to have the lowest time. And some of them were like, wait, nobody said I couldn't pick them all up at once, or wait, nobody said that I had to, like, I don't know, there was workarounds. It made so much sense.
The workaround to this one was you could drag the table to it as long as you're on the bike.
Right.
So it's gonna take you a little bit longer, but you're not gonna knock anything off.
You're probably not gonna break any plates, and every person that does break a plate, it has an additional 20 minutes put on their time. So like even if they get all the plates but one there, say it takes them 5 minutes, well actually it took them 25. So it's very it was so these are so cleverly thought out, and like that is what is really cool is that you're on series 11 and we're not done coming up with ideas.
Well, the thing is, he's so creative, Alex Horn, and like the whole like team behind it, and the other thing is because it's a different cast every season. It's a show that's never gonna. It's a show that's never gonna well, not die. That's not the word, but you know what I mean. It's never gonna get old or stale because there's always a new cast coming in.
Right.
And as long as you can think up ideas.
We get, and there is series 12, so clearly we're moving forward.
Yeah. Well, they've signed a deal with a new TV channel over here, so Channel 4. So it's gone from like it's gone to Freeview to one of the main channels, if that makes sense.
What was it on when it first started?
It was on a channel called Dave. The channel's called Dave. That's like a satellite channel over here. So it's gone from that to so Channel 4 is probably like our version of Fox for you guys.
Okay. I knew it was like higher because I get Channel 4 now. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be honest. I don't know any of the people that are going to be on this
next season. Well, I know a few of them. So Victoria Corin Mitchell is she presents a TV show over here, a quiz show over here called Only Connect. So she's fairly well known. Her husband's more famous, David Mitchell.
She's on Would I Lie to You and 8 out of 10 Cats. I've seen episodes of both, but I don't remember.
So if you've seen that Would I Lie to You, her husband's the other team captain, so the other one who's not Lee Mack.
Okay.
Morgana Robinson, she's like a famous comedian. She does like an amazing impression of a TV soap character over here, but it's so dead on. It's amazing. It's brilliant. Alan Davis, have you seen QI?
I've actually never watched QI.
So he's a regular on that. So he's probably like the most high profile one of the lot that's on there, I would say.
Huh.
But that's the whole thing about this. It's like, even if you don't know these people, because comedians by their very nature are so competitive.
Right. And even if most comedians, even if they're not like your type of comedian, your type of funny, together, especially doing tasks like this, they are really funny. Like, they're hysterical.
Especially with like Alex and you don't watch it for the comedians. You watch it for Alex and Greg because they're that brilliant.
Pretty much. And I love Greg. So Greg is from a television show called Cuckoo.
Yeah.
That I talk about a bunch over on Geek and Sassy. Fantastic show. Hysterical. It's like my favorite.
Cuckoo, Man Down, In Betweeners is so good. So good.
He is fantastic. I was not aware of Alex Horn before finding Taskmaster, but he is also just as funny. Kaden was watching part of this with me the other day, and he thinks Alex is just hysterical.
Another quick podcast recommendation for you if you want to delve into him. He does a podcast called The Horn Section with his band, and that's fantastic. That's great.
I believe there is a Taskmaster podcast now as well.
Yes. So that's hosted by Ed Gamble, who won Series 9. So basically, they do the current episodes when the show is running, when the show is on Channel 4, and then like at the moment they're doing retro shows. So I think they're up to about season 4 at the moment. With the retro.
They're basically reviewing each episode via podcast.
So it's basically Ed. It's kind of like this. So it's like Ed and another guest. So it's either somebody who's been on it or like an Uber fan.
Then we should be on there to talk about Telly and Tea and our love of Taskmaster, because this show is phenomenal and it should never end. And Greg Davies, if he would like to get married, I can figure out how to get divorced. He's just funny, and he's tall, and
I thought, so it's the podcast is really good. So like it's a really like good accompanying piece. So you watch the episode, then you watch the podcast after, and you know. They break everything down. So like they even say like, you know, would they have given like the 5 points to this person and whatever? Because a lot of it is based on Greg's opinions. It's like there's obviously some time and speed tasks, and you know, do something in the quickest time, and then there's other things like, does Greg actually like this item, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, like when they bring their items at the beginning of the show, Greg gives them points, and he's like, 5 points to you, none to you, you suck. It's what Greg decides. And even some of the live stage tasks, sometimes they have Greg participate, where he is the final decider of the points. In the series, they have a ton of points.
Yeah, I was going to say the live tasks are probably some of my favorites, because obviously, like, they're watching each other as well. That's where you can tell how competitive they are. They're watching each other, and then if somebody's doing really well, they'll all copy their technique and all, you know.
Yeah.
And then realize that they're not as good as the person who's doing it.
They're like, oh wait, I didn't know I could do that, and they even say that sometimes. I didn't know I could do that. And Alex is like, well, I didn't say you couldn't do that. I said you couldn't.
Yeah, all the information's on the card.
It is. It's all there. So in the end, so obviously at the end of each episode, they get the prizes from all the guests, and at the end of the series, not only do they get all the prizes that the end of the total series, they get a fancy schmancy, which they did not at first when this first started. This didn't come until like season 2 or 3. They get this Greg Davies bust.
A golden bust. He would of Greg's head, and who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, so it's a trophy, Taskmaster trophy. I want a Taskmaster trophy. So that.
There you go. So next time you tweet Alex, just say, what is your favourite tea, and is there any spare trophies I could have, please?
Right. I would like a spare Taskmaster trophy because this task of trying to find out your favorite tea has been the hardest of them all. All the points to Miranda.
Yes. Every single last one of them. 5 juicy points.
Thank you. See, Ben just gave me 5 points, so we're good.
Yeah,
With all the points tallied, and me the winner of this Telly and Tea Taskmaster series, I will allow you to go and tell me, because it's time for you to tell me, what is your top 10? So Ben's top 10, boys and girls, which is the top 10, current top 10 set shows / movies in the UK at this moment.
Yeah, so we'll go. Yeah, so the top 10. Do you want to go film? Do you want to go films and series, or just series?
I think they kind of combine them all together, don't they?
I could do either, but go on. I'll do both. I'll do the one with both because
sure.
I'm on that. So at number 10 is a film called The Mule. I'm having a look at the description now. In dire financial straits and estranged from his family, an ornery old horticulturalist becomes a delivery driver for a Mexican drug cartel.
Mm-hmm.
Starring, good cast though, very good cast actually. Clint Eastwood, Bradley Cooper, Lawrence Fishburne, and Andy Garcia. So yeah, very good cast.
Yeah. I think that's just new to Netflix because it's been out.
Yeah.
Wow.
9, the original Suicide Squad, which I did quite enjoy.
I did as well. I won't let anybody tell me how horrible it is because I don't believe them.
Carrying on from last month, where a lot of kids' TV shows made it in, at number 8, Peppa Pig is still around.
Peppa Pig.
Muddy Puddles. All about the Muddy Puddles.
All the Muddy Puddles.
Number 7, Aftermath, starring Ashley Greene and Shawn Ashmore. Desperate to save their marriage, a young couple take a deal and move into their dream home, but disturbing events reveal the house's troubled history. Ooh. Are they ghosts?
Dun.
At number 6, and frankly, for next time, we are going to be talking about the show because I discovered off air that both me and Miranda are obsessed with Love is Blind. So at number 6 is Love is Blind After the Altar.
Yes.
We all want to find out, is Barnett still a piece of work?
I'm sure he is.
Jessica! Oh, don't. Did you know she's older? She doesn't mention it that often.
Yeah. I'm so much older than him.
Anyway.
What's the next one?
Number 5 is Virgin River.
Ooh,
Starring
yes.
Alexandra Beckinsale, Martin Henderson. Yes, so this is a show. It's been on for 3 seasons. Searching for a fresh start, a nurse practitioner moves from LA to remote Northern California and is surprised by what and who she finds. Ooh.
Fun fact, the narrator for Virgin River, it's, oh, my brain just went. This is what happens when I don't go to bed like I'm supposed to. The narrator for the audiobooks to Virgin River is a friend of mine, Therese Plummer, and she can in fact be seen in the television show as well.
Wow.
Yes.
We need to get her on.
I could figure that out. I don't know how busy she is now that she's on TV and stuff too. But
well, yes, I'm not saying get her on next episode.
But yes.
You monkey, come here.
Right now, Therese, right now.
At number 4 is, well, it's a show I have seen, and well, it's kind of one of those hyped Netflix shows that really isn't as good as the hype makes it out to be, which is Sex Life. And let's face it, you're watching it just to see the size of something. That's pretty much all it's there for, isn't it? Really.
I haven't watched it yet, but from what I'm hearing, pretty much.
At number 3 is Chaos, which is a film with Jason Statham and Ryan Phillippe and Wesley Snipes in it. Which that sounds pretty good.
Yes, I was interested.
So, when a gang of bank robbers take dozens of hostages during a heist, a suspended Seattle cop is brought back to the police force to negotiate. Where's John McClane when you need him?
Oh, yeah, right?
Absolutely. Number 2, this is a show called The Cocaine Cowboys, The Kings of Miami, another drug show. 2 childhood friends go from high school dropouts to the most powerful drug kingpins in Miami in this true story of a crime saga that spanned decades. So yeah, this is one of those. It's not a drama. This is one of your Netflix, like an unsolved mysteries kind of thing.
Like a docuseries, basically.
A crime docuseries. Yeah, I might give that a whirl actually. I do like a good true crime docu. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I do too. You're pretty good.
And at number 1 is a show called Outer Banks. On an island of haves and have-nots, Teen John B enlists his 3 best friends to hunt for the legendary treasure linked to his father's disappearance. I'm guessing that's only just come out.
I believe so. I believe you are correct in that.
Yeah, so that's the thing with this top 10. It's always things that have just dropped that tend to be honest. A couple of the things I'll mention that I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to watch it. There is a new season of The Movies That Made Us out there, which I absolutely love that show. And as well on Amazon, on Amazon Prime, there's a brand new episode of the Grand Tour called Lockdown. If you're a fan of Mr. Clarkson, Mr. Hammond, and Mr. May, there is a brand new episode, and it is pretty damn spectacular.
Also on that note, if you are a fan of Mr. Clarkson, I highly encourage you also watch the Amazon Prime show Clarkson's Farm.
Oh yes,
it's phenomenal. My only complaint is that it was too short.
Yeah, but they are doing a season 2. They've already announced that.
Yes, so actually the day we finished episode 8, because I believe there's only 8 episodes, I found out they were doing a season 2, and I'm so excited. Jerry and I watched this one together, and we have gotten another set of our friends that are also a couple. They have completely watched it all as well. We love it. I've pre-ordered the Diddley Squat Farm book. I am here for it. I now have added to my list of things to do when I finally am able to make it to the UK is to go to Jeremy Clarkson's Diddley Squat Farm.
Well, I don't know if you've seen it yet. You probably haven't. He's the new host of I say the new. He's done it for around 4 or 5 years now. He's the new host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and he's so good on that.
I haven't seen that, but Kaden loves the American version, so maybe we will have to start watching that one.
Right.
Love Jeremy Clarkson.
There's some of the Clarksonisms in there, but he's playing it like totally straight almost, and he's so good. He's so good.
He's great. I love him. Fantastic. Yeah, so those are 2 more shows. If when you come to our podcast, you're going to be given a plethora of recommendations for shows to watch, but we're also probably going to give you a ton of recommendations for podcasts to listen to. So, Ben, how about you tell the good people of the world where else they can find you and what else you have going on in the podcasting world?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at BenL1981. I have got a new show here on the Pop feed. It's a new episode of Popcorn Chicken Salad. Me, Logan Crosland, and Matt Souza watched Road Trip, and I haven't seen that film in like 17 years, and a good time was had by all because Scotty didn't know, bless him. And so far we've watched 4 films and I would consider none of them to be bad, which is kind of worrying when it's meant to be like a bad film guilty pleasure podcast.
Well, guilty pleasure doesn't always mean bad, so I'll give you that.
But
it could be bad to someone else, but good to you. I think you'll be
yes, exactly. That's the whole point. It's got to be a film you enjoy, or at least one person enjoys. That's
right.
And also, I will quickly mention on the wrestling feed, the regular episode of Wrestling's Chicken Salad. We are watching and reviewing SummerSlam of 2010, and it is still as bad 11 years later as it was back then. Well, when you have these ideas for shows where, like, we'll watch bad wrestling shows, that'll be entertaining. Yeah, not
and then you do it, and you're like, oh god, that was as bad as I remember. I thought it would get better. I thought it was just me at that time when I watched it, but no, it's really that bad.
The talking on a podcast and reviewing it bit, that's great. It's the actual watching of the show that's the problem. And it genuinely did take me 4 goes to watch it.
Oh my gosh. So just a quick reminder, guys, we are part of the Place to Be Nation family. If you go to placetobenation.com, there is a multitude of things that you can find there, from podcasts on all of the different feeds to include what we call our family feeds, which are North-South Connection and the Ginny Position. There's a ton going on over there. We have a new little news ticker that goes through the top of the website there that'll show you all of the new things, most recent things. We have our friends that write articles over there that you can read. If you're not in the podcast mood, there's articles on just about everything. There's an index where you can go back and find all the shows, any shows, our shows, Blockbuster Rewind, Polly's Perspective. So much is over there. I highly encourage you to check out the website because there's fun for all there. If you're enjoying the website, go on over to our Facebook group, Place to Be 8, as well, and join us. Ben and I are both there, and we have conversations with our wonderful friends from basically all the feeds. It is, I'd say, more heavy on the wrestling discussions, but that's not to deter you from coming. I'm there. We talk about, like, how brown do you want your grilled cheese and what donut has to go. And just sometimes it's silly, but it's like so fun. We even have a lot of sports talk over there, so if you're a sports person, come on over. All perspectives welcome. Arguments are not. Of course, as I am here on Place to Be Nation, mainly as my main home here on the Pop Experience, where you can hear me in the Pop Goes to the Classics as we work our way through Disney. We are still making our way there. Of course, Andy and I have the Most Sensational Muppetational Celebrational podcast that we have. I think I just threw that name up. Maybe I didn't. I hope he's proud of me. That's a hard when you're not looking at it to, like, just pop it off. I
was going to say, you did very well there, considering.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's Most Sensational Celebrational Muppetational Podcast. But it's fantastic, and it is exactly what you think it is. We are making our way through the Muppet Show, starting with season 1 and working all the way through. Of course, I would like to encourage everyone to go check out. We now have a partnership with Stream Lounge. So far, we just have a couple of shows over on there. We are keeping it very small. It is in kind of like testing stages for us, I guess. You can go check out. The really cool thing about it is it's just like your podcast feed where the shows are always there. So yes, if you can join live when one of the shows is up, we encourage you to join live and be part of the audience with us. If not, you can go back and watch it later. What's really cool is we're kind of like the talking robots and heads in Mystery Science Theater. So while you're watching the show through Disney Plus and some of the other platforms that they currently have the ability to watch the shows through, you get us talking about said show and life. So please join us. Andy and I have one that we've already done for Pirates of the Caribbean. And there's a lot more to come, and there are certainly other great creators on there that are not part of Place to Be Nation, but since Stream Lounge has graciously got us over there, we would love to encourage you to check out everyone else that they have on their website as well. Of course, you can always find me. I'm really bad at Twitter. Maybe that's why Alex Horn won't answer me, but I'm there at Mom's a Nerd. Of course, if you type in at Mom's a Nerd over on Instagram, I am also there as well. And, of course, you'll find me back here because, come on back now, we're always here.